Have you ever been so terrified of making a single mistake that you just never even start? Well, today we're going to dismantle that fear. We're going to completely re-engineer the idea of failure, not as some kind of dead end, but as the actual raw material for building mastery. Okay, let's get into it. I want you to picture this: a master weaver, someone with this incredible, high-definition vision for a beautiful, complex tapestry. They see every single thread, every shade of color, the potential for an absolute masterpiece. But here's the thing. That vision becomes a curse. They're so paralyzed by the fear of one single crooked knot that they spend their whole life just staring at the silk. They never even start the loom. This is the very heart of the problem we're talking about today. There's a name for this person: a high-resolution sentinel. Now, your greatest strength is that you see the world in stunning 8K detail. You notice every potential flaw, every little tension. But that very strength, when it's not managed, leads directly to what we call perfectionist paralysis. You start to believe that one tiny error will completely ruin the whole picture, rendering it worthless, low resolution. And this is where the mindset shift gets really interesting. You see, you probably think you're just being meticulous, but what's really happening? You're calibrating for a ghost. You are chasing an impossible, phantom standard of perfection that literally doesn't exist in the real world. All this does is protect the idea of a perfect outcome while letting you completely avoid the messy reality of actually building something.
Okay, so let's shift gears. We need to move from being paralyzed to actively iterating. And the way we do that is by understanding what failure actually is. Spoiler alert, it's not a character flaw, it's a biological process. It's a diagnostic report that is absolutely critical for learning.
At the very core of this whole process is something called a prediction error. It's basically a signal that your brain sends out when what you thought was going to happen, well, doesn't match what actually happened. And you have to get this. Learning isn't biologically triggered when things go right. It is sparked exclusively by these moments of friction, by these prediction errors. So let's break this down to the nuts and bolts, the neurochemistry of it all. You try something, you fail. Right at that moment, it's not just a feeling you have. There's a sharp, measurable drop in dopamine in a part of your brain called the basal ganglia. But this is not a punishment signal. Think of it like an urgent memo, a diagnostic report being sent straight to the CEO's office, your prefrontal cortex, saying, "Hey boss, our map of reality needs an update right here, right now." Now, here's why it feels so bad for some of us. If you're a high-resolution sentinel, what some call an orchid brain because of this heightened sensitivity, that error signal gets processed with way more intensity. You know that physical punch to the gut feeling? Yeah, that's your anterior cingulate cortex basically screaming because it's detected a huge resolution gap. But here's the wild part. It is only in that intense moment of friction that your brain actually kicks off the physical process of rewiring itself for growth. So this brings us to a completely new way of looking at progress. If failure is a biological command to learn, then we can actually create a formula for it. So welcome to the equation for mastery. And boom, here it is. This formula just perfectly illustrates the whole idea. Your mastery equals your high-res vision times the number of failed iterations, all divided by the time you waste just thinking about it, or what we call simulation. And just look at that equation. What's the most powerful variable? It's the multiplier, the number of failed iterations. Let's really break this down. Look at the math. If your number of failed iterations is 0, then your mastery is also 0. Period. It's that simple. Success is just a plateau. It's nice, but it only confirms what you already know. But failure? Failure is a vector. It points with laser precision to the exact spot where growth can happen. It's the thing that finally moves you from being a passive spectator of potential to an active architect of your own skill. Now, you've probably heard that Silicon Valley advice to fail fast. The source material here calls that a dandelion platitude. It's generic, it's flimsy, and it mostly just creates chaos. For the high-resolution sentinel, the rule is different. You need to fail specifically. See, a general failure is just noise, but a specific failure, where you can deconstruct exactly which gear cracked and why, that's high-resolution intelligence. You're not just breaking things, you are discovering a fundamental constraint in your system. And this right here, this is a profound shift in your identity. You are no longer the person who messed up. The shame just dissolves. You become the architect who has just been handed a critical piece of data, a blueprint showing you exactly where the structure needs to be reinforced. Okay, so how do we actually put all this great theory into practice? How do we physically turn that awful gut punch feeling of a mistake into real, usable 8K power? Well, we implement a simple but incredibly powerful system called the calibration protocol. So let's walk through these 4 steps. First, the second you fail, you label it. You can literally say it out loud. This is a calibration signal, not a character flaw. That simple sentence shifts the processing from your emotional brain to your logical brain. Second, you conduct a 1-bit postmortem. Find the single smallest thing that went wrong. Don't analyze the whole catastrophe, just find that one binary point. Third, you immediately, and I mean immediately, try a 240p version of it, a simpler, low-res attempt to use the new data. Do not wait. And finally, you run a data over shame audit. Just ask yourself, what new 8K data do I have now that I didn't have 5 minutes ago? If you have a new data point, then the failure was a profit, not a loss. So really, it all comes down to this. It is time to stop protecting the fragile, perfect idea of yourself and your untapped potential. It's time to actually get your hands dirty and start building the messy, imperfect, but very, very real reality of your skill, one calibration signal at a time. And that leaves us with one final question for you to take with you. The next time you make a mistake, don't see it as a loss. Ask yourself this: what new high-resolution data will this failure provide for my architecture of mastery?